In Melbourne, protesters have split off into groups and are taking different routes to try and shake off police. Patrick Murrell's in Melbourne. Pat, there have already been dozens of arrests.
That's right, Annalise. There were 10 arrests last night, and protesters have already anticipated more today. They've marched from Carlton Gardens through the streets of Melbourne, splitting off into several groups to try and throw off police before meeting out the front here on Spring Street, out the front of Old Treasury Place. There's about 200 protesters here. They're throwing somewhat of an impromptu dance party. As you can hear, there's shouting, cheering and some music playing. They're holding banners, of course, protesting against the government's stance on climate change. There is a heavy contingent of police, though, as they block the roads. The protesters have been blocking traffic, trams, cars as well. There's dozens of police here from the riot squad, as well as mounted police as well, keeping an eye on protesters. They haven't yet been given the order to move on, but it is anticipated that maybe in about an hour or so, police will start giving those orders to move on, and all but the very dedicated protesters will remain. That's what happened yesterday when protesters blocked off the intersection of Flinders Street and Swanston Street. 10 were arrested, 8 were fined. 2 were charged for intentionally obstructing emergency services workers. One of those was bailed. One of those refused to comply with their bail conditions and was in custody this morning. So this protest is expected to go on until police move on the last protest. A similar action, though, is expected throughout the rest of the week and through to the weekend. Annalise?
To have people marching in the streets is one thing, but to get people actually arrested in large numbers is the thing that really makes change. There's been a lot of research done on this. In London last night, they had hundreds of people arrested. We've only had dozens so far in Australia. We've got some catching up to do. Getting arrested is another form of disruption, making a rumpus, as Roger Hallam likes to describe it. We have to actually be self-sacrificial in these actions. People have to see that we're prepared to go to these sorts of lengths to get the message through about how serious this problem is.
So there you go. They are expecting arrests here in Melbourne. As to how many, well, that remains to be seen. Of course, this isn't just in Melbourne. It's part of a wider day of national action. Annalise?